Hello and welcome. I'm Bigfoot and this is episode 6 of my Let's Play series. There's a lot of episodes for really not a lot of progress. There's a big part of me that thinks that the length of these episodes and the progress I'm making is too long and too slow respectively, and that I'm maybe not opening things up to a wider audience by doing it in this way. But, you know, by the comments and by the reactions I'm getting, and it seems to be this is exactly what the people who watch my channel want. So, you know, this is for you guys. This is all for you. I suppose for the wider audience, I have some ideas, but that's not for today. For the moment, at this point in the factory, at the end of the last episode, what I was planning to do was build the computer chips and fill in this lake. But I don't feel like I've built up enough landfill in my stone. So what I'm actually going to do is move the camera down and build the second half instead, the bottom half. That should take some time, and in that time I should have plenty of landfill. Not really the plan, but you know, sometimes you just got to react. You can't necessarily plan everything out in finite detail. So what will happen now is lots and lots of building, big montage, and hopefully in a short period of time for you, a long period of time for me, we'll have a second half sorted. So let's do it. So just before I get started on the big build of the copy in this south border, I've just spent a bit of time collecting a few of the resources that I need. So I've taken a blueprint of the top half, and that's given me an idea of all of the things that I will need along the way, and I've tried to collect as much of it as possible. I don't think I'll have everything. I'm a little bit short on red belts, about 500 or 600 short on red belts, but by the time it will matter, I'm sure that will have caught up. Just something that, you know, just saves me a bit of time running back and forth. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. I don't know with this stuff. And I'd imagine that as time progresses, whatever I don't use in this one will move across the map as I get to other areas, and I'll add to it, remove from it, etc. Anyway, time to build. Oh no no no! Oh shit! 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 Oh no! Come on, little man! Ah, no! Yeah! I'm coming! No! You crafty little canny. So the reason why this is actually annoying in itself, but the reason why it's doubly annoying is because currently the camera is moving. I can't stop it or pause it, and I'm meant to be working on the camera, I've got no inserters. I'm meant to be building in order to progress things. I need to come back to this. That's what I need to do. I need to carry on building. That's the priority. This is the problem with time lapses when you're trying to build on the move. If you get an invasion, you got to react to it, and suddenly all of the building work comes to a halt. It's really annoying. Right, and breathe. I've caught my breath back. The only way I can whilst I'm doing this particular process, the only way I can pause the process is to physically pause the game. So if I find myself in this sort of a hole, what I do is I pause the game. Okay, where am I at? What am I trying to do here? Okay, so it's annoying that they got into my base, but you know, really not the end of the world. The thing that is annoying is because I was trying to do something with the time lapse. Right, so let me go back to, let's find, right, here we are. So the camera is currently moving down. I think it was about here, the bottom of the camera was about here. So I wanted to have started building whatever was here. That's where I should have been doing whilst I was catering with the biters. So the goal of this thing is to try and keep any action that's happening with the time lapse in kind of the middle third of the screen. What I've tended to find when I've watched my time lapses back is that anything that's happening over on the edges, you almost have to be aware that it's happening to be able to see it, whereas your eye is naturally drawn to the middle kind of third. So anytime I'm working on the bottom edges of the screen, I want to draw your attention to it first, and that's what I'm kind of trying to do with these walls. This is a process that I know was going to take a long time, setting all this out, copying exactly what was up here. So I did that first to kind of to change something on the bottom of the screen of the time lapse to draw your attention to it, because I want to, because as I said, I want to start building the furnaces down here, and I want you just to draw your attention to that because we are outside the third of the screen. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that the time lapse currently just gone over 2 minutes worth of footage, which is actually a lot of time. The goal with these things is, what I've tended to find is that, you know, 6, 7, 8 minute long time lapses are okay. They're acceptable. 3, 4 minutes, I'm not going to get to that level. That's going to be impossible for the sort of thing I'm trying to do. But anything longer than kind of, I don't know, 9, 10, it starts to get difficult, not only for me to find the right music, but also it tends to be the sort of video that, you know, is only watched by the enthusiasts. Let's just put it that way. So I'm at 2 minutes now, and I really want to start limiting the amount of shots that I take. Now, the other strategy I generally use with these time lapses, like, I tend to use the field of vision as amount of time. Like, how much time is it going to take me to fill that field of vision? And I want that sort of time for each field of vision to be the same. So when I'm zoomed in, there's less area, so there's less time that it takes to fill that area. So I use a higher frame rate when I'm really zoomed in, because then you get a sort of a decent length of cut between transitions, and you can actually see what's going on. You know, when you're really zoomed in, you want to be able to see every detail. If you did a low frame rate, it would kind of appear in clumps. With a high frame rate zoomed in, you kind of see every detail. When you're zoomed out, you can't see every detail. Like, you can't necessarily see every single inserter. So when I was putting in the inserters, I used a particularly low frame rate because you'd only see them in batches. You'd only see like clumps of yellow appearing. So for the time that's going forward, I'm going to start using a much lower frame rate than I was using before. So I think I was using 4 for the starter base. I've kind of transitioned to 3 frames per minute to do most of this, and now I'm going to move over to 2. And from here on out, unless I zoom in and want to capture something in particular, some particular detail, I'm thinking here of the rocket launchers. I tend to zoom in for that particular set piece. That's another separate detail. I use a completely different set of frame rates for that, and also for bringing in the materials, I use different frame rates for that. But for the general recording, I'm going to move down to 2 frames per minute. That should do the job, and hopefully it should keep the time lapse at a decent length. That's the goal. So cracking on time, I think. I've had my little break. Time to unpause and start building some furnaces. Patches of ore, patches of ore. Got a few of them dotted around the place and they're in the way. Now, considering this is all copper, it does kind of make sense to keep hold of these ones. 42 million, Jesus. And coal as well. I don't have any other coal at the moment, so, and I've come across a couple of times with coal running out, not having enough, so I don't really want to touch that. Uranium, I'm a million miles away from uranium. And by that point I'll have roboports and lasers and you name it. So if I need to go and find some new uranium, then I can find some new uranium. That's not a problem. So that's gonna go. If you're new to the channel, I have ore eraser, so I can erase any ore I fancy. If it's in the way, I just get shot of it. If I want to keep it, I'll try to. This patch of iron, I could try, if it was the only one available, I would keep it and I would work around it. But I've got this one up here, and that's out of the way. That looks like it's going to be in my kind of train zone. It's going to be well out of the way of the rest of the factory. So because I have that one, I'm going to get shot of this one. So keep, lose. And then if I deplete these, then I can rebuild it. If I find other coal, I can get shot of it and rebuild it. Worry about it in the future. I can still work around it. Just slightly less capacity in my copper, but you know, I'm not looking for performance at the beginning. I'm just looking for some copper, not all copper, just some. Okay. So continue. I'm not proud of what I'm about to do, but these guys need to go. That is the bottom half pretty much done now. Happy. I've done as much as I can. It's not finished. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but there's a point at which I don't really know what things are finally going to look like. I mean, to give you an example, this roundabout that I had originally positioned so it was symmetrical around this kind of centre line ran right in the racetrack, so I've moved it over, and that's messed up my fuel line, where I proposed to put it, because this is where I wanted to put it, and it can no longer go there. So I need to reposition this so it's up here somewhere maybe, and then it can get there. So I'm not finishing it off because I don't really know the final state of things currently. But it is important. The next thing, I suppose, I need to move on with his computer chips. Start filling this lake. That's what I need to get on with. So let's collect that some landfill. Whatever landfill I have is whatever I have. If it's not enough, it's not enough. Okay, so what I was just doing there is two things at once. I was moving the camera across the screen so I could get it in the right place for the computer chips, and at the same time filling in the lake. Now there's two mistakes I've made with this sort of thing where I've done it before. I can move the camera too quickly so that it can essentially overtake whatever it is that I'm doing, and whatever it is that I'm doing is not on the screen anymore. Or I can go move the camera too slowly so that I overtake it and I start pushing too far over here and I'm out of the screen and filling. So in order to make sure I don't make that mistake, I actually timed myself running from here to from the top of the screen, from where I planned to fill the lake, to the bottom of the screen, and then worked out how fast I could move the camera based on that time that I took. You could say, again, all this stuff, you could say it's well over the top. And to be okay, let's have. I mean, I have made the video. I've had a look at it. Let's have a look at it, because I think it's worthwhile. Just show. Yeah, it's just another one of those instances where 6 or 7 seconds of just doing something a little bit different from the rest of the factory process. It's another way that I like to break things up. And you can see that I've left bits of lake still to do. So obviously at some point in time, I'm going to have to move the camera up to do the top half of the computer chips. And as I do that, I'll do the exact same thing again. What I'll probably do is fill it in a little bit quicker. As the time lapse goes on, you don't want to see these things repeatedly over and over again. So I do it, that was 7 seconds, 6 or 7 seconds it took for that one to do. I'll probably do it in 3 or 4 seconds next time around to get up there. Just so that, and then maybe the time after that it's a second or two, and then after that it'll be like no time at all. It's just how I like to ramp things up as the time lapse goes on. But yeah, that was what I was doing there. So I've also moved the ammunition, so because the ammunition, the old border was here, well, not the old border, the old route for the ammunition was down here, so I've moved it into the path, so it's out of the way, it's not going to get in the way. That's something that can stay there for quite some time, even as I increase the base. So I need to remove this and then start building some computer chips. That's what I need to do. I'm just looking at this space that I've allotted for myself for the computer chips, and now what I need, I've got this standard block that I have for green chips. That block is 15 tiles wide, and I need 7 of them. And over here I've got 7 blocks for the copper. There's 7 of these. Each of these blocks is 18 wide. So because each one of these would be 3 tiles narrower than this one, there would need to be, if I arrange them in the same orientation with them going sideways, my standard block, then they would be narrower than this one, and there'd be big gaps between the individual blocks. Not to mention that this is again my standard approach with things, to go sideways, just keep going sideways. That can go wrong. So I'm just thinking about orientation. So 7 is obviously a very difficult number to arrange in an even way. Say it was 8, then I could start thinking about doing 2 rows of 4. But it's not 8, it's 7. So I've put these assembly machines up on the screen in this orientation to see how it would work out. If I did, say, one of these like this, and then another one on the other side at the back in the same way, coming inwards, how much of a kind of a gap in the middle would I have between them? My thinking is, because I need 7 of these things, if I arrange them with 1 here, and then 5 along here, and then another one here, that's my 7, and then in the gap in the middle I can use to bring all the materials in and out. That would be quite a cool setup. And then whatever gap I've got here I would need, because of these materials need to come in, come across and up or down depending on which unit it's feeding. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I like the idea as a whole. It's very appealing to me. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Another change of plans. So here we are. Here's the layout that I was planning. Obviously there's just a ginormous gap. I need 7 copper in, 7 iron in, and then 7 green chips out. And there's going to be huge gaps. I'm very, very not happy about the huge gaps. So, new plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to stay. You're going to stay there. I'm going to bring you 2 so that you're here. With this lane, I'm going to bring in whatever resources I can, probably just the copper. And then over on this side, I'll have like a separate bus that comes down and brings everything else in, comes in. And then I'll use that same bus to bring in the resources that I need for red chips, which will then go here, where these green ones are, which are going to be taken down. So the red chips will go here. Well, the bus will go here. No, that's right. The bus will go here, feed here, and then I'll have red chips, potentially even blue chips in the middle somewhere if I've got some space. Right, so I need to demolish this. I like this new setup immensely. This is very pleasing. Got my 4, I've got my 7 blocks. I can now deal with all of my copper and my iron over this side. I'm going to bring my green chips through over. This is the racetrack, by the way. I'm going to bring the green chips over, and then I'm just going to feed that directly into the red and the blue chips without bringing it out into the bus and back in again. I mean, that's just brilliant. I can just bring the green chips through, up and down, and then whatever's left can come back down here into the bus. That's worked out. Oh, I'm chuffed, absolutely chuffed to bits. Brilliant. Right, okay, so let's plumb it in. That's what I need to do. So this is copper. I thought I would have enough space for all of this. It turns out I don't. And I've wasted some space earlier on in the process, so I don't know if you can see, but there's 2 lanes here that I need, because I can get these 2 lanes back, and the same again on the bottom. That's 4 more lanes. That would be enough to get it all in and out. Ah, it's my own fault. It's my own fault. All right, okay. I am well happy with that. Well happy. And that's with a capital A. This has worked out excellently. I'm really, really pleased. When I sat down with the numbers and worked it out, I looked at green chips and I was like, that's 7. It's going to be awkward. It's not going to work very well. I'm going to have to fudge it somehow. I'm going to have to figure some horrible way of solving it. But, oh. What I've come up with in the end is brilliant. I'm real happy. The fact that it's all going to come across here perfectly for my other chips. It's just like an elegance. An elegance I didn't think I was going to be able to achieve with this one. Okay, so that's enough for today. Progress is still coming on. I'm really pleased with how it's going. I hope you're enjoying it. Till next time.